Hey everyone, so I was messing around with some budget cinema cameras lately, trying to see what you could get away with for under $1,000, and honestly? The footage just looked flat. Colors were mushy, the dynamic range was basically non-existent, and forget about any kind of cinematic look without hours of grading. Then I got my hands on the Blackmagic Design Pyxis 6K EF, and it's like someone flipped a switch. This thing doesn't just capture video. It captures images that look like they were shot on a proper cinema camera, not some hacked-together DSLR rig. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the full-frame sensor is a game-changer. I've shot on APS-C and Micro Four Thirds before, and while they're fine, they just don't have that buttery bokeh and that natural fall-off in the background that makes footage feel expensive. The Pyxis 6K EF gives you that right out of the box. I used it to shoot a short film last weekend, and the way it handled the golden hour light, creamy highlights, deep shadows without crushing detail, it just felt right. No LUTs, no heavy color grading, just raw footage that already looked 80% done. Dual native ISO is another standout. I was shooting in a dimly lit jazz club last night, and I could push the ISO to 3200 without any noticeable noise. Most cameras in this range start falling apart at 1600, but the Pyxis just kept chugging along. That kind of flexibility means you're not constantly fighting your camera in low light, you can focus on composition and performance instead of wrestling with settings. Now, I know what you're thinking, but what about the workflow? That's where DaVinci Resolve Studio comes in. It's included with the camera, and honestly, it's the best color grading software out there for the price. I've graded footage on Premiere Pro and Final Cut, and Resolve just feels more intuitive for filmmaking. The fact that it's bundled in means you're not dropping another $300 on software just to make your footage look decent. Plus, the Gen 5 color science is next level. Skin tones look natural, skies have depth, and you don't get that weird magenta cast that plagues some cheaper cameras. Oh, and streaming? Yeah, it does that too. I set it up last week for a live panel discussion, and the RTS/RTMP streaming worked flawlessly. No dropped frames, no audio sync issues, just clean, reliable output. If you're doing live events, interviews, or even just streaming your creative process, this camera handles it without breaking a sweat. Bluetooth control is another small but mighty feature. I can adjust settings, start/stop recording, or even switch between profiles without touching the camera. It's perfect for gimbal shots or when the camera's in a tight spot. I've used it mounted on a crane for a wedding reception, and being able to tweak exposure on the fly without climbing up there was a lifesaver. Now, let's talk about the EF mount. If you're already invested in Canon glass, this is a huge plus. I've got a few vintage Zeiss primes that I love, and they mounted right up without any adapters. The image stayed sharp, and the colors were consistent. If you're coming from a DSLR or mirrorless setup, this means you can reuse your existing lenses instead of buying new cinema glass, which can run you thousands per lens. I do have to mention a couple of things that might not be for everyone. First, the body is all metal, which is great for durability, but it also means it's a bit heavy. If you're used to running around with a mirrorless camera all day, this might feel like a brick after a few hours. I don't mind it, but it's something to consider if you're planning on handheld shoots all day. Second, the menu system is, well, it's Blackmagic. It's powerful, but it's not the most user-friendly. I spent a good 20 minutes figuring out how to enable the histogram overlay, which should have been straightforward. If you're not comfortable diving into menus, you might want to watch a few tutorials first. All in all, the Blackmagic Pyxis 6K EF is a beast of a camera for the price. It's not perfect, no camera is, but it gives you features you'd expect from rigs that cost 3 times as much. Whether you're shooting narrative films, documentaries, live streams, or just trying to elevate your YouTube game, this thing delivers. The included DaVinci Resolve Studio alone is worth the price, and the image quality is just a step above everything else in this range. If you're on the fence, I'd say go for it. The learning curve is real, but the payoff is worth it. The link is waiting for you below if you want to take a closer look. Happy shooting!